for me, it's a very show that talks about a lot of pain or came from a lot of pain. And I want to understand how people get to a place where it is so painful, but then come out on the other side. When you think about like the addict, imagine calling this, and I didn't know that was abusive. You know, I'm kind of looking at that now like, yeah, that's abusive. I'm way more than that. You know what I mean? Even at your worst, you're even way more than that. You know what I mean? Or you've
always been way more than
that. Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm saying.
Always
so
been.
Yeah, you don't think like that. Welcome to Real Talk TV. I'm your host, Darryl Buchanan. I'd like to thank you guys for watching the show. I ask you to continue to like, share, and please subscribe to the channel. I have another great show for you. I have my guest, Pepsi Rivera, a good friend of mine, and she's outreach coordinator for Stairway to Recovery. Someone who I think is very passionate about their job, leads with love and compassion. And so I really just want to get into the show and talk to her about it and find out what she's been up to. Hey, Pepsi, what's going on?
How you doing?
I am good, lady. I am good. So listen, tell me a little bit about who you are and your role as outreach coordinator for Stairway.
Well, like I said, I'm called Pepsi in the community. That's how I'm better known. Mm-hmm. I've had the nickname since I was 13. I don't think it's going anywhere.
It's gonna stay.
And it's not going anywhere. And in the work that I do, it comes in handy because it's a name that's pretty easy to remember. Mm-hmm. So what I basically do is outreach.
Okay.
And outreach is just basically bringing information in to the center where I am, where it's a peer support recovery center. Mm-hmm. So I bring information into people, and I also spread it and bring it out to different places and people in the community, where it's in the recovery community, people are just trying to survive. Mm-hmm. So that's not always, their first thought, or they're not always aware of certain resources and things that can be of help to them. Mm-hmm. And so what I do is bring it to them. One of my favorite sayings is, if Muhammad doesn't come to the mountain comes to Muhammad. I'm the mountain.
You're the mountain?
I'm the mountain.
Good stuff. I appreciate it. So tell me, what inspires you to become involved in the recovery community and be an advocate for those that struggling with substance use disorder?
Basically, it was because first, I had been in a relationship with someone where at the time I didn't realize his addiction was actually growing. He was starting to have a substance abuse disorder, and it was more about medication and things like that. But even though I had seen certain things, we see things on TV, you hear things, you never, a lot of us are kind of naive to substance abuse disorder and recovery and all that type of thing when someone's an addict. So I didn't really realize. It was only years later that my son was 18 at the time. My son's father and I had split up when our son was 1. But we had a good friendship, but his behavior, a lot of it had changed, and I thought he was just a deadbeat, he just wasn't doing his thing. Yeah. I didn't realize what was happening until, I heard little whispers, but never got to see him in that kind of condition. He stayed away. Yeah. Until one day, it was Father's Day about 3 years ago. I received a call and was told that he had passed away. Okay. And it was because of his drug use. He also suffered with a lot of mental issues, and the culmination of both those things, the mix of both those things, through his depression, he was just in a downward spiral. Okay. And he took his life. He purposely overdosed. He committed suicide. He did.
Wow. I felt like that a few times when I was out there.
And it hurt. Our son had just turned 18. They didn't have a great relationship because, his father had been absent from his life, and there was a lot of substance use, because of it. And there was a lot of embarrassment he suffered. So our son, didn't take it too well. And then, like I said, it was just a short time later that the person I was in a relationship with, all of a sudden, I found out that he was an addict, that he'd fallen into addiction. Yeah. To be with somebody for a good what I thought a significant amount of time, which was about 4 years or so before he did fall into addiction, became an addict, it just really, it hit me for a loop.
Yeah.
You know, it was rough. And because of that, because of what he was going through, you know, I didn't want to just abandon him. I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know anything about addiction, so I thought it was more about me. I didn't understand or realize what was going on, and just took it to where, you know, what the hell? You know, I thought it was about me, so I felt bad about myself. You know, why does my man, because he never wanted to be at home using, so he would take off. So why does my man, you know, why would he rather be out in the street, you know, in a trap house, you know, out doing the things that he was doing, rather than be home with me? I took care of the house. I worked. I did everything I was supposed to do. You know, we were talking about shopping for a house. We had money saved, and that just changed all of a sudden. And so it drew me into a depression where, you know, I would try to go looking for him and couldn't find him. I got depressed.
Going to parks and everything.
I was in the parks. I was out there with my mace and a knife and running in places where I had no business being. But I was trying to help the man that I loved. I'm like, I'm losing him. He's going to die. And no one would help me. You know, the stigma that I faced because of it from my own family, friends, my kids were, of course, my son was upset with me. I lost my dad to this stuff, and now you're with a whole nother addict. What's going on? So to the point where I got so sick and so depressed, I would curl up in a ball and cry when he'd take off on a run. And I was down to about maybe 90 pounds. So I was skinny, sick. And so what ended up happening was, you know, my family, people thought I was using. And
it got that bad.
They thought I was using. I have never had any kind of substance use disorder. I'm an ally, you know, because of this. So when that all happened, I lost everything. He went away for a while. He was incarcerated. I lost my apartment. Our landlady had found out about his addiction. I lost my housing. Like, my dog died. Everything that was everything. I was sleeping in my car all by myself, you know.
At the end?
Terrified, yes, because he's locked up. I'm in my car. I lost everything. That's all I had left.
I never even used it.
And never even used without ever. That's just why I do what I do. I've never had any kind of disorder. You know, I did dumb stuff as a teenager, but this, the way it affected me, without ever having picked up anything, you know, I was to the point where I almost did just to see what the heck was so great, maybe kill my pain, you know? And then by accident and through the grace of God, I always say, because things happen for a reason, you know? He came out, I was trying to find him a job. And instead, at a job fair, I bumped into the director of the center.
Todd,
And that's, you know, how I didn't know that the place existed. I knew nothing about Stairway.
Before then?
I lived in Brockton since I was 13, okay? I'm 53. You know, at that time I was 51, 52 years. I didn't know anything about this place. So, you know, and I wasn't looking for a job. I had a decent job. You know, I was lucky I had been able to keep it. It's all I had left to survive. So, you know, he said, why don't you check this out? He told me about the outreach. He told me about the position. I went in to see him. He's like, you know, I think you'd be perfect for this. I really want to offer you this, but I need you to do a second interview. And I said, okay. I got this. So I came in dressed to the nines thinking, you know, I'm going to go in front of, you know, what I like to call the big wigs or bougies, directors, bosses, all this and that and the other, right? And instead I was led into a back room in the library. And when I walked in there, it was a table full of members. They had the vote. They questioned
Before you got
me.
the job.
It was, if they had voted no, I would not be where I am right now.
That's
I wouldn't be here.
Good stuff. Let me ask you something. So what does being an ally personally mean to you?
It means, you know, changing what I fight for, what I work for. I do from the bottom of my heart. I hate calling this a job. It's not a job to me. This is my life. I literally feel like I found my calling in what I do. It saved my life. I can honestly say, I don't know if I would be here. I don't know if I'd be on this earth right
if it was
now.
to stay away and
If it wasn't for, what I do. It means getting out there, putting the information out, not just trying to help even just the people that are battling the substance abuse disorder, but it's a battle with the stigma, and to teach people and to have them learn that this isn't just somebody decides to do and they just want to. It doesn't work
issue,
that way. It's at the end of the day, this is about life or death.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you something. So I remember being out in, you took me out to outreach to that park.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that's a quick way to learn some
Yeah,
things.
but a lot of people, and a lot of people, that is your calling. That's your job. People love you.
Yes.
All right, so, but when you're out there and you're dealing with people that are unhoused and have substance use disorder, what do you think is the biggest challenge that they face? That you see on the streets right now from people trying to get housed or trying to get into this process?
Aside from the disease itself,
Yeah.
because a lot of the time people are battling this, so it's not something that happens right away. It's not something that happens overnight. It might take 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. It's actually,
So you never give up on people?
No, definitely not. I've met people that, went through a rehab 7, 8, 9 times, 10 times. Yeah. I've met people that, every pathway is different. Every person's way is different. We are all too different to heal the same way. So
I like that.
Not every, it's the truth. Not everybody's way of healing, not everybody's pathway, not everybody's time is going to come right away. Everybody's time is different. Yeah. And like I said, the biggest thing I've seen there, like I said, is just the lack of outreach to some certain places. There had been an issue in one of the parks where somebody was hurt, was killed.
That was a few weeks ago, right?
Yes, it was a few weeks back.
I remember that.
And it was a place that I go to quite often. Yeah. And where I'm very well known to the point where no one will bother me. And if somebody were to even question who I was, somebody else there in the park will be like, nope, that's Pepsi. Don't mess with her. She's good people.
Is that the park? That's the same park?
Same park.
Yeah.
Same park.
That isn't.
And so someone had died there. And, we were having a day where they were having a Save a Life Day thing, they were calling it. And something that I do all day is hand out Narcan. Okay. And so we were told, the person that was coming out to volunteer with me from another entity was told that they preferred that we didn't go in the park for a while. And so
because of this event,
because of that, and I asked,
instead of sending more,
right? I asked why.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why I was just kind of being a jerk. But I asked, I'm like, why? And they said, oh, it's unsafe. And I laughed. And they looked at me, and I said, do you know how ridiculous that sounds to me?
Yeah.
When has that park ever been safe?
Ever been safe? Yeah.
When have those streets ever been safe? When has that area ever been safe? Do you think what do you mean? Is that the first shootings, that thing that you've heard about this, about things going on? And it's not because necessarily it's a common thing, but it has happened before. But if people are out there and they're sick, then I need to meet them where they're at. That one time that you reach out to somebody just might be their day, might be their time. At least until they're ready, I'm going to keep fighting for that.
Good stuff. All right, so let me ask you, so what do you think of some of the misconceptions that the public still have about people who are with substance use disorder or people that are homeless? I mean, I used to walk around when I used to do outreach out here and in Lowell. I used to walk around and it was hard for me dealing. It was easy to deal with the person with the issue. It was hard to kind of, not to communicate what was going on to people, but to get people to look past their preconceived ideas that this person has made a choice to be like this. You know what I mean? Oh, that was a moral issue.
Right.
And the stigma. What do you think? I mean, what do you think about that? What are the misconceptions that you see every day out there?
Well, first off, it's. I mean, it's common. It's almost, I guess, kind of sensible. You see people thinking that way. I was one of those people for a while. You know.
Get away from you.
Not even like that, because I did feel bad. I am an empathetic person. I'm a human being. I can't help but feel.
Yeah.
You know, but in our community, when I was growing up, you know, I was told, oh, you know, they want to get high. They want to do this. Or they choose to do this. Or
Be
they
homeless.
chose. And yeah, and what people don't realize is you're just this far away sometimes from being unhoused, as they like to call it.
Okay.
I was homeless. I went unhoused.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing anything
unhoused
wrong.
too, yeah.
I was working. I was doing all the right things. But because of the stigma that came from his use, you know, his substance abuse, I paid for that. So I get it, what people think, and they see certain things, and yeah, it is difficult. And it's a huge battle to try to sometimes turn people's way of thinking around.
It is a battle.
Until they
something happens to them,
till
right?
something happens to
Or
them,
somebody they love,
or
yeah.
to, you know, and
Yeah.
and literally, I had
agree.
some empathy, but it didn't hit me as hard until it happened to someone that I was actively in love with there. You know, losing my son's father was traumatic, but then to lose someone and then to have this happen, the fear is even more real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's scary. So as far as trying to convince people or change people, it's just trying to educate the community about what this is, and that they may have chosen to pick up. I mean, I know people that have been tricked into using.
Yeah.
You know, they may have chosen to pick up, but the problem is that once this poison gets into you, it literally changes your brain, how you think,
100%.
the decisions you make. You're doing things you normally never would.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of understand that it's not about them choosing to do this.
Yeah.
You know, about them choosing to get high or do what it is that they do. It's
You can't think that people would really think. For instance, we're talking about Bluetooth, and we can talk about that now. The brain is so changed that this new trend, Bluetooth, that you would actually go and I'm not laughing because it's just unbelievable.
But it's
you would go and draw blood out of someone else and shoot their blood to get high or to get off E.
right.
You know, I remember I told you about that.
It's
You
almost
looked
like
this
some
up.
vampirism type of thing, you know, where to think that somebody would actually do something as risky, okay, as risky as to take someone else's blood and inject it into their own bodies just to get a bit of that high, to get rid of their pain, whatever it is.
That's the nation. That's the nature of disease. A disease evolves, and if you don't know anything about Bluetoothing, they call it Bluetoothing and hotspotting, and it's trending right now in our areas. Look it up. You know, Google it and learn more about it, because you're talking about another level in the disease. This is some stuff I would have never even thought.
It's
You know
insane.
what I mean?
Yeah, that one
insane.
threw me for a loop.
When I told you, everybody I
And when
tell
you told
about
me,
it, they think like
I
that.
was like,
what?
what in the? I mean, and
treacherous.
that's why, you know, like I said,
You
harm
can't be
reduction.
choosing to do stuff like this.
No, you can't, and that's why harm reduction and making sure people have access to clean help, to things where they can get help, to where they can. It's so important.
You know what I think? I think the disease is, and it's so funny, the disease is evolving, and it's right here, in the education and the intervention and prevention methods are right here. We always trying to play catch up. We're always behind. And on this Bluetoothing thing, it's been in South Africa for years.
Right.
You know, the harm reduction thing has been in Portugal for years before we even, it's like we wait to do intervention instead of prevention. It's crazy, man. Anyways, check out some Bluetoothing, check out hotspot and drugs, and it's a new thing trending. All right, let's get back to with you. Let me ask you a question. Can you talk about the importance of meeting people where they're at? You know, and I say that because everyone thinks that people, or they try to help people the based on what they think the person needs, coming from their perspective, and never
Right.
from how important is that?
Outreach is extremely important. Having people with lived experience, having people that have been affected by this is definitely something that's even more important. You know, sometimes, and I'm not downgrading the work that people do, that certain people do, but it's more than going out because it's Save a Life Day or it's a certain day of the year that we do this, Recovery Month. All that stuff is wonderful, okay? But this is every day, okay? Addiction doesn't take a break.
No, it doesn't.
So with that being said, having people out there that can truly meet someone, you know, basically at their level and kind of know things and let's say be kind of hip to what's going on and be a little more savvy about certain things, because I get it. People go out and they're like, yeah, we were out doing this night and this day we're doing, and I said, that's awesome. But how about, you know, how much are you getting through to people? You know, certain people out of the community, that it's wonderful that they want to volunteer and help, but let's face it, a lot of those people sometimes are looked upon like they're law enforcement or something. You know what I mean? And you already know where the trust lies with that.
Yeah.
And so it's being able to have people that know about this, that have been there, and actually of course, it's wonderful to have the volunteers, but you have to make it a more common thing and something that you do more regularly if you're going to do that. I can't just, you know, I couldn't just pop up in the park all of a sudden and say, hey, I want to help you and I want to do this. Or if you go in there talking to people with all these big words and all this stuff, they're going to look at you like, chick, what's wrong with you? Like I've literally heard females say to other people when they come with the big words and stuff, oh, she's doing too much. You know, you gotta try to meet people where they're at, try to help them with some of their needs too, because let's face it, no one's gonna be able to listen to you with their stomach rumbling or they're thirsty and they're hungry. So that's one way to kind of, and then just a chance to get in someone's ear and let them know that there's help there, and let them know that you can identify with what they're going through. You know, I tell people, because all the time you'll see people that are seeing caseworkers and this and that, and you'll hear them say, what the hell do you know about this? Who are you to tell me? You've never done drugs. You've never done any of this crap. How do you know about it? You know? And I tell people, me even as an ally, I don't say that I feel your pain. I can empathize with it. I understand pain. I know what pain is, because I've been through pain. I've suffered because of this. Without having picked up again, I can never stress how much. So being able to do that and have people be able to somewhat trust you and know that you're there for a good reason, you're there from the bottom of your heart, you're not there just because it's a paycheck. You know, you're there because you really do love them and care. You know, these people, as people like to call them, those people, they're my family. This is my community. You know, Brockton, it's where I live. It's my home. So instead of people sitting there and talking and pointing fingers and trying to shove stuff under the rug, you know what? Do something about it. Do something.
Good stuff. You know, I think another thing that's a barrier is that people don't really understand when you approach a person that's out there struggling, you're talking to a disease.
Right.
You're really talking to you know, because it's they've been hijacked spiritually. So you're talking to a disease, and it's tough. And that's a barrier itself. If you don't know the language, if you don't know what this disease is, you're in trouble.
And let's face it, people are trying to survive. So I know people will sit there and say, oh, well, they're quick to try to grab a meal. They just want free stuff and they just want this, that, and the other. Guess what? It's part of the nature of the disease. People are trying to survive.
Yeah, they ain't got nothing.
And the way their brain and how things have changed and the things that they're thinking first about how they're going to eat, where they're going to sleep that night. Are they going to be safe? You know? Yeah. Imagine.
And all the while trying to hold on to how can I get high?
Right.
You just stay high.
Right.
Yeah, it's just to keep that pain down. It's tough. It's complicated. All right, let me ask you something. If you could change one thing about the way our system responds to addiction and homelessness, what would it be?
It would definitely be having people that are properly trained, that are properly informed, and trying to make sure that those first responders, because I know their job is tough, okay?
Yeah.
But for them to be able to kind of have some empathy and to get rid of the stigmatic language, the stigmatic behavior, the whole thing about frequent flyer. I know, even I heard it myself going in to meet up. I remember one time my partner, he was trying to go into a rehab and he wanted me to meet him at an emergency room. I went to the emergency room with him, and because as soon as they saw, his medical record and they knew that, I heard the term frequent flyer.
That's crazy.
And I said, how dare you? And he heard it and he was like, what do you mean? What's that? What are you trying to? And he got upset. And you know what? Instead of, he had agreed to go to a rehab. And you know what? He left.
Yeah.
He left. Now, what happens if that same person that you did that to goes out there and dies?
Yeah.
So every time someone goes into an ER, into certain places, we need to have those funds. We need to have these programs where there are people in the actual ER that when something like this comes up, that you have somebody properly trained, hopefully someone maybe even with lived experience that can reach out and try to deal with a person instead of having a security guard sit there and babysit, people. And I've seen it.
No,
I've seen it because automatically they're deemed trouble. And I understand that there are people that do tend to act up and I can understand that. But if you automatically assume that and you automatically come at someone that way, it just doesn't help. They run from help. People will run from help. And you're going to kill somebody that way.
Yeah. A lot of that stuff. There's a lot of stigma. It's a lot of in those areas. And I think it's a little bit of both. I think, people get desensitized after a while. I keep dealing with the same stuff. And if you really, I won't say not able to empathize. I think you're right. People with lived experience can go the distance.
Right.
People. I don't think, because other people would get desensitized and like get tired of it. If you're on the front line, you know what I mean? And I get it. I'm not, but if you're there and you're seeing this over and over, I remember when I went in and they had rooms, but they left me in the hallway. I'm like, well, I can't get a room. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're just trying to make a decision. Should I really go to detox? And I did leave.
Right.
I'm in the hallway. Not saying if they gave me a room, I would have changed, but that just made it easier for me to just say,
just go to have
because everybody's looking. You got me on display.
Right.
I get it, but I also understand that being on the other side, doing outreach and bringing people in and coming back and bringing that same person in and seeing people.
It's stressful.
It is
and
stressful.
Literally, like I said, you do kind of develop a tougher skin. I know I have, when having dealt, with my partner, with what he's been, because he still struggles, he's in recovery right now. He's getting some help right now, so keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've known people that have gone through that a couple of times. It happens, and I get it.
You 70 times. I know.
Yeah, you develop kind of a tough skin. I know I have to some certain things. You have to learn to have certain boundaries. There's a difference between facilitating or enabling someone's behavior and being supportive. And that's something that I'm literally still in the process of learning. It's very hard to love someone and have them see them struggling with this. It's very frustrating.
I know.
And it's hard to not tear someone down or be like, okay, are we really doing this again? Are we really going through this again? But at the same time, you got to understand that their mental, their brain, it's not where it was at. It's not normal anymore. And like I said, each time, every day that a person is alive is another day that they have a chance to fight, to get better.
To get to recovery.
So if you give up, if you give up on people and you automatically think that way, I get it. There are lines you got to kind of toughen up. I deal with that all the time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you still have to be able to try to offer that help and be that, and be people, these people that are going through this deal with stigma all the time. You know, out in the street,
Get
pointed
out,
at,
your name's
talk
get out,
about this
you
and
can't
that.
go
So
nowhere.
now they're going somewhere for help. And then to have the people that are supposed to be there to help, to protect and serve, to nurse them back to health are behaving the same way, then why get the help?
Yeah. It's easy for the disease to turn them out.
It
You're right.
is.
All right, let's turn this to something good. Do you have any people that came back to you that you've helped and thank you? I mean, you got any success stories?
It's happened a couple of times.
Tell me about it and how do you feel about it? Just tell me how about
I remember the first time, but one of the biggest times for me, I had met a gentleman. I do talks in different places, and I was at a rehab that I go to weekly to speak at, to do basically what's called the new member orientation, where I talk to people about the center, about certain resources, and about them getting help.
trying to bridge them back to some way?
Right, and I go and I tell them about things that are there and just certain things and help that is available to them. Kind of give them a pep talk. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. So one day when I was there, I had met a young gentleman. He was in his late 20s, and he was struggling. He really was. And he was kind of aggravated when I got there, you know, pacing. He was a little upset. And so I take meeting people that are supposed to be quote unquote difficult as a challenge. That's one of the first people that I'll go to, you know, or try to chat with. And so, you know, I kind of struck up a little conversation with him. And, you know, I usually go in there and it's all males. So I rile them up on the unit. I'm like, hey, Pepsi's here. I'm ready to have a talk. Come on, come join me. Let's do it. And so I just get them going so that they're curious, you know, because they're like, who's this crazy Latina
Loud
chick coming
lady
in
come
here?
up in
Loud
here, yeah.
lady. You can hear me all over the unit, you know.
Yeah.
And they're like, who the heck is that, you know? So they'll come in. I'll be like, look, and even though people that don't want to know I'm tired, I'll be like, look, just give me 5 minutes. If you think I suck after 5 minutes, I tell them just like that. You know, if I suck after 5, then you know what, you can go.
Yeah.
I won't say anything about it, but you got to give me a chance, bro. You know, I'll mess up. Give me a chance.
Yeah.
You know, I said, come on, don't break my heart already. At least work with me a second.
Yeah.
So I try to get the guys to sit in. So anyway, this guy, you know, he was Latino, so I appealed to that too, you know, and chatted and I told him, come on, help a sister out and just come in and listen. And mind you, I'm there to help him.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm like, you're helping me out.
Reversing,
Yeah. So
sure.
he came in and sat in the room, and like I said, because he was ready to leave. He was about to. He was like, I'm checking
To leave
out
the
of
place,
here.
he wanted
He's like, fine, I'll come in, but right after the meeting, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. Screw that. And I'm like, okay, no worries. And so he was kind of, you know, a bouncy person and kind of riled and stuff. And so a couple of times he interrupted to ask questions, and I was like, okay, so let's just finish the talk, and I promise I'll give you my undivided attention. And I remember he got a little spazzy in the room, had walked out because somebody made a comment about him shutting up because he was, you know, kind of chatting and stuff. And so we de-escalated that, calmed it down. He left the room, and like I said, his plan was to leave. So I thought I wasn't sure. I thought I might have lost him because he was into the conversation, definitely. A couple minutes after, you know, right before the talk ended, he came in the room and he said, listen, I wanted to apologize. I'm sorry. You know, the dude just pissed me off. So I had a little pep talk with him and I told him, you know, you're here for you. You know, I told you, this ain't the Ritz, but you're here for you. Work the program, stay in your lane, do what you got to do. You hate this place? Then get the hell out of here. Work the program and do it the right way so you don't got to come back.
Yeah.
And so I didn't see him after that. And, you know, I had left and I don't know, I guess they said he had moved on to another unit. I don't know what had happened to him. So I lost touch with him. And I always thought about him. So one day, I get a call at the center, and it was like, Pepsi, somebody's on the phone for you. He said Pepsi. And I'm like, okay. So I get on the phone, and he's like, oh, Miss Pepsi, you remember me? And he told me his name. And he's like, remember, I was kind of loud. I had to apologize to you. And I was like, oh, my God, yeah, how you doing? He's like, I went on, to CSS. He's like, I'm working the program. I'm trying to do this. I'm like, okay. I said, stay doing it. If you need to talk to someone, let us know. You can always come by the center. I can find you a center near you that's closer to you. Yeah. They all work the same way. He's like, cool. So fast forward to just now this past August, we had an event through Moore, which they had a huge event on the Common. The mayor, people from everywhere were there. It was amazing. So I'm in the crowd chatting with people and seeing, friends and people I've met. And so this young man comes up to me and he's like, Pepsi, you don't know who I am? And it was just tears of joy. He was like, I was going to leave that day. And he was like, I stayed because of what you said. And you were tough on me, but you showed me love. You gave me a hug. He's like, and you made me want to stay.
Good stuff.
And by then he had been, by the time I bumped into him, he had been in recovery for about 8 months or so.
Wow.
And he's working, he's in a halfway house, and he's slowly but surely trying to get his life together.
Good stuff.
And it's the change.
Is that those are feelings that's worth more than money? No paycheck.
So I mean, how can I not do what I do? How?
No, I get it.
And like I said, the people in this community, they are the ones that give me the faith and the strength to keep going.
Good stuff. All right, so yeah, we may wrap up, but just anything else you want to say?
No, I just wanted to thank you.
Anytime, lady. You know what I mean? No, thank you for all the work that you do. Anytime. And I definitely want to talk about that woman thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's your camera.
Okay.
Like I do at the end of the show for everyone, give a message. There might be somebody struggling. There might be a family that don't know what to do, or just any message you want to give. Take your time and just give a message.
I just want you guys to know that there are people out there who care. There are people out there that do this because they love someone or they love the community, but they do it out of love, okay? And I'm one of those people. I come with receipts.
Receipts?
I come with receipts. So, like I said, if you really do want the help, if you're looking for help, don't be afraid to reach out and don't give up no matter what. I understand that there are people out there that are going to stigmatize, that are going to judge, but it's up to you to fight. They can't want it more than you do. You have to want it. And God bless. Someone out there loves you. I know I do.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you guys for watching. Great show. Like I said, I appreciate it. And as always, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Stairway to Recovery and everybody that's on the front line. And I definitely want to do a shout out to Robin Brown. She's done a lot for the community. She came on the show. And since then, I've just been thinking a lot about just the way she used to help me and open doors for me and open doors for people in my community. And I just wanted to say thank you again to Robin. And as always, I want to say I love you to Taisha, Jaden, Daryl, and Zayla. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah.
You did a hell of a job, lady. Okay.
Oh, I told you, I'm chatty patty. All you got to do is
get you a
get a
show.
conversation.
That should be your interest.